unmuting myself.
Okay, no.
Mute. Mute. Okay.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the West Grey Committee of Adjustment for Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. As part of the first order of business of this meeting, West Grey is required to find a chair position for the Committee of Adjustment. At this time, I announce that the floor is open for nominations for the chair of the West Grey Committee of Adjustment. Are there any nominations? Councillor Townsend?
I would nominate Deputy Mayor Tom Hutchinson for the chair's position.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hutchinson, do you accept the nomination? Deputy Mayor, he got promoted. Sorry, yeah, Deputy Mayor, yes.
It is a promotion.
All right.
Yes, I would. Thank you. And thank you very much, Doug, for the nomination.
Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? As there being no further nominations, the staff declare nominations closed. And as there is only one nominee, Deputy Mayor Hutchinson, the member is acclaimed as the chair position for the West Grey Committee of Adjustment for 2025. Mr. Chair, the meeting is yours.
Thank you. And thank you for your support, my colleagues. Second order of business is 2.2, and welcome everybody, is to appoint the vice chair. So we're looking for nominations to appoint a vice chair for this year. Member Eccles, go ahead, sir.
I'd nominate Councillor Doug Townsend, please.
Okay. Member Townsend, would you accept that nomination as
Yes,
vice chair?
I will accept that nomination.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other nominations for vice chair? And she's not online, so we're seeing no other nominations. You will accept that then, yes? Okay, calling once, we'll call twice for vice chair. Calling 3 times. Okay. Member Townsend, you are appointed as vice chair for 2025. Thank you. Takes us to item number 3 on today's agenda. It's the purpose of the meeting. Planner Smith, could you please insert your points here, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The purpose of this Committee of Adjustment meeting for February 4th is to hear 3 consent applications, to hear from the members of the public on the 3 consent applications, and for the West Grey Committee of Adjustment to make decisions as they see fit on the 3 consent applications before the committee this afternoon.
Thank you, Planner Smith. Item number 4 on the agenda is the disclosure of pecuniary interest, general nature thereof. Members, if you have anything to declare at this time, and of course, once you arise during the meeting, you can declare at that time as well. Seeing none, we are going to move right along to number 5, and that's the approval of the minutes. Under 5.1 is the minutes of the Committee of Adjustment hearing held on December the 3rd, 2024. So I'd be looking for a mover to accept those minutes. Member Forrester, thank you, sir. Seconder, Member Hutchinson. Any comments or questions, errors, omissions from the committee? Me? Oh, sorry. Member Noon, I thought my mic was off. Go ahead. Thank you. Well, you know what?
Thank you. Yes, there was an error with road 30. It was mentioned as road 36 And it should be Road 35, and that's with the, sorry, I don't have it right up in front of me here, but there was an error with the location of that road is 35, not 36.
Just wait, Planner Smith, you see that? Yeah, okay. Anything further? Remember? No? Okay, Planner Smith acknowledged that. That's, thank you. For your keen eye. The mic's still on, Joyce.
Sorry.
That's all right. Any other errors, omissions, comments, questions from the committee? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All those in favor, just raise your hands, please. I see all members in favor. There's none opposed. That motion has carried. Okay, next item is our first application is item number 6. One sec here, folks. This is the one here, get rid of that. And this one here, I believe we had a request, if we could move this one to the back part of the last item on the agenda. So I'm just going to ask the committee if anybody's opposed to that. There's a request because one of the applicants or one of the people that were members, one of the members of the public that would like to speak to it cannot attend till about 20 minutes, 30 minutes from now. Is anybody opposed if we move that? So we're going to move item number 6, and that would be inclusive right through to 6.4 down to below number 8. And we will start the first application will be number 7. Nobody's opposed to that? Okay, I don't think I need a motion on that. You think? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Clerk. I look for appreciate that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to application number B33 2024-403-741, and that'd be Gray Road 4. So that's the item number 8, or I apologize, number 7. And the floor is yours, Planner Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you mentioned, application B33 2024 for Z, request of planning consultants. And if I may ask to bring up the PDF on the screen, and we will refer to a couple of pages within the PDF. Page 32 of the PDF, please. Thank you. A little bit of background on the application. The purpose of the application is to sever one new lot, approximately 2.03 hectares in size, and to retain an approximate 59 hectare lot. This is the severed lot and the general location on the property. Can we go to the next page, please? Page 33. Page 33 is a air photo of the general property, and the section, and I'm sorry, we should put a little box on this that we're looking at, is towards the bottom left-hand corner on the north side of Gray Road 4, part of the treat area and some land behind the treat areas, general location that we are in for this application. The property is described as Lot 13, Part Lot 14, Part Lot 15, Concession 1, NDR, Geographic Township of Glenig, 403741 Gray Road 4. The property is designated rural and hazard in the County of Gray official plan with an aggregate resource area, significant woodlands, and other wetland constraints across the property. The property itself is quite large. It's far larger than what the picture shown here on the screen is for you at the moment. The property is zoned A2 rural and natural environment. Okay. West Gray Planning Committee approved the zoning bylaw amendment application providing relief for the lot area minimum for the proposed severed lot. The retained lot in this particular case will meet the regulations of the West Gray zoning bylaw. So that was the committee, West Gray Planning Committee that met earlier this year that took a look at the Z zoning amendment in this particular case and approved a zoning bylaw amendment contingent on, of course, the consent being finalized also. The Gray County Planning Ecologist was asked for comments in particular on the natural heritage areas, the significant woodlands and other wetlands, and overall an environmental impact study was not required for the application. There is sufficient lands outside of the significant woodlands in this particular case to construct a dwelling. As I mentioned, there's a previous report prepared for council. The attachment was included in the report to Committee of Adjustment. We circulated the application to various agencies, including West Grey Public Works, West Grey Building, West Grey Fire, and there's no concerns on the property itself in terms of the severance. County of Grey, as I mentioned, the environmental impact study can be waived. They did ask in this particular case for some replacement trees of the 4 native trees about 10 centimeters in diameter be replanted at a 1-to-2 compensation ratio. The tree clearing does not occur between April 1st and October 31st in any given year. And that the new entrance on the severed lot from the County of Grey Transportation has to have a 150-meter separation distance from any other entrances on Grey Road 4. Overall, they had no significant concerns with the application. Saugeen Valley Conservation had no issues with the application also. At the time of writing the report and submission to yourselves, we received no public comments submitted as the date, and we received none since the application was uploaded, as I mentioned. We reviewed the application against Provincial Planning Statement 2024. As of October 20th, 2024, the new Provincial Planning Statement applies to all decisions in respect to the exercise of any authority that affects the planning matter by this Committee of Adjustment. We reviewed, as I mentioned, the PPS 2024 and find that the application as a whole is consistent with that provincial planning statement. Reviewed the application against the County of Grey official plan. As I mentioned, the lot is designated rural and hazard lands. There is no development proposed within the hazard lands. There is a significant woodland constraint on the front portion of the severed lot. There is significant woodland and other wetland constraints on parts of the retained lot. And again, parts of the lands are within the Saugeen Valley or regulated area, although the lot that we're looking at here is not within that regulated area. The retained portions are. We reviewed the development policies within the county official plan. And in particular, we took a look at significant woodlands. As I mentioned, the Grey County Planning Ecologist does not require a planning environmental impact study for the property. But in this particular case, there is going to be a new driveway that's going to have to be installed, approximately 110 meters in length from Grey 4 through the significant woodlands on the property. And they did ask for some tree planting compensation to be looked at in this particular case. Our recommendation is that the County of Grey is in the preliminary stages of the development of the ecological offsetting policy of the Grey official plan. And a report seeking council's direction on this was brought forward in April of 2024. In September of 2024, county planning began the process of seeking feedback on a potential ecological offsetting policy. It's my recommendation until such time as an ecological offsetting policy is completed and approved that we recommend that the tree compensation requirement recommended by the county planning ecologist not be included as a condition of the approval. Overall, we do find that the application is consistent with the general intent and purpose of the Grey official plan. In terms of the municipality of West Grey comprehensive zoning bylaws, I mentioned the West Grey Council had recently approved the zoning amendment for the property to A2523 rural exception, permitting a lot area minimum of 2.03 hectares and a front yard minimum of 113 meters. The severed lot, the retained lot would meet all the other requirements of the A2 zone, and the retained lot would also have no particular concerns. In this particular case, we were trying to come to a halfway kind of meeting place with the county ecologist. So we had recommended and was approved a minimum front yard of 113 meters, which means that any building or construction such as a garage, a house, sheds and all the rest of it would be outside of the significant woodlands that the county identified as an issue in this particular case. So we're not going to do the ecological offsetting, but we will keep the buildings out of that particular portion of the property. Overall, we find that the application is consistent with the West Grey zoning bylaw, and we recommend that the application as provided in the report to committee be approved for B33 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Planner Smith. That moves us to 7.2 verbal comments. There's two parts to this part of the agenda. First one is we will ask the committee members for their comments, and that'll be followed up 7.2.2 with the public comments. So under 7.2.1, committee members, there's a chance to have any comments or questions you may have on this application. Is there any at this time? Seeing none, and I will close that. We'll go to 7.2.2, public comments. I'm going to ask Ms. Noble to just let anybody know that's participating virtually, how they can participate, and then I'll turn it to the audience here. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. And through you, Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Before I begin, at any point, if you get disconnected, you can dial 1-647-558-0588 and enter the ID for this meeting, which is 891-5626-2480. Both member of council and staff have been briefed on the various features of the Zoom meeting software and will be raising their hands physically to speak. For members of the public, if you require any technical assistance, please send a chat message to myself, West Gray Communications, and I will attempt to assist you. It should be noted for members of the public that this meeting is taking place across 2 meeting platforms, both on Zoom as well as being live streamed on YouTube. Public participation, if any, must be done through Zoom. Cannot be done through YouTube at this time.
Checking it just. Comments or questions? Ms. Noble? No? Okay, is there anybody in attendance here today in the chamber that would have a comment or question on this one? Would like to speak to it? And that's again to this specific item. Okay, seeing none, nothing. I was gonna circle back. Ms. Noble, nothing there? Okay, we'll close that part of the agenda. And that'll take us to 7.3, and that is decision. What direction would the committee like to take with this application? Member Eccles, you want to move that, sir?
I'll move the recommendation as presented.
Everyone's clear on the recommendation that's in the agenda there? And then Member Townsend, you're going to second that, sir? Thank you. Comments or questions on the recommendation? We'll call the vote. Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All those in favor, just raise your hand, please. I see all members are in favor. None are opposed. That is carried. Item 7.4 will be next steps, and that'll go back to Planner Smith, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The West Gray will issue a notice of the decision on the consent with the conditions that have been outlined in the report that you just approved. The application will have a appeal period for various agencies and for the applicant themselves. At the end of the appeal period, the applicant can come forward and satisfy the various conditions established within the consent and gain their severance as long as they meet the various conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Planner Smith. Okay, that takes us to number 8, and that's application number B 30/2024-313237 Highway 6. 8.1 is Planner Smith's report. If you could please read your app or the information you have on B 30/2024. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The application is for Kipfer Caracuesta. I'll ask if we can go to page 47 of the PDF online, please. The purpose of the application is to sever approximately 3 hectares of land from what's called the Metcalf lot and merge the lands as a lot addition with the Kipfer lot. We're going to go down through a couple of the pictures here just to give you the where we are overall. The picture in front of you is the entire Metcalf lot. Okay. The portion that's being retained is the part of the Metcalf lot is the 17.4 hectares, and the severed portion is the 3 hectares at the bottom to be merged with the Kipfer lot. The heavy black line is the lands to be severed, and the heavy red line is the lands to be severed, the 3 hectares, and the light red line is the existing Kipfer lot, which will be enlarged with the merged portion from the heavy lands. Can we go to the next picture, please? To the 48, please. This is the aerial photo, and that's the entire both Metcalf and the Kipfer properties in total. The Metcalf property, of course, the long agricultural parcel, whatever it is, running from Highway 6 east and west, and the Kipfer property is the property within the what's called the Marshall Heights subdivision down there in the far right-hand corner. And one more, please. This is a zoom in of the Kipfer lot. That is the lot to be enlarged in the corner of Marshall Heights. Thank you. As I mentioned, the enlarged Kipfer lot will be 4.3 hectares in total area and the retained Metcalf approximately 17.4. The Metcalf lot has a address in Highway 6 and frontage on Highway 6, and the Metcalf and the rear buildings and structures that will continue to be accessed from Highway 6. The Kipfer lot is municipally identified as 150 Marshall Heights with frontage onto Marshall Heights, and that Kipfer lot is, my understanding, is currently vacant. The Metcalf lot is designated rural land use type and hazard in the county official plan, and there are significant woodlands and aggregate resource areas constraints on the Metcalf property. As the retained Metcalf lot will be less than 20 hectares in size, it will require relief from the minimum lot area requirement of the West Gray zoning bylaw. And as the Kipfer lot is within a registered plan of subdivision plan 16M29, the lot addition itself cannot be merged without a deeming bylaw. Those are technical matters. The zoning is the zoning, but the deeming bylaw is a little bit more of just a technical matter in this particular case. It is recommended that a restriction on buildings and structures be placed on the significant woodlands portion of the lot addition. So from this picture, actually, we'll go back one page if you don't mind, Lisa, Ashley, page 48. You can see in the far east side of the Metcalf lot, that back end there in the nice fall autumn picture that was taken, that is significant woodlands. That is the portion of the lot addition that is being recommended there be no development potential identified on it. And if you take a look at what we just did with the Z consent, this is the same concept. The Z consent, we push the buildings outside the significant woodlands that happens to be on the front end along Highway 4. Here, we're suggesting that the development stay within the original lot within the Marshall Heights subdivision. That's the Kipfer lot. And that lot was always significantly large enough for a house, accessory buildings, and so on and so forth, and retains the integrity of the significant woodlands within the entire property without having to worry about buildings and structures kind of going on there. We circulated the application in the West Gray Public Works, West Gray Building and Fire. There are no concerns. The county agreed comments on January 17th, 2025. The identified some issues with the aggregate resources area, which have been rectified by the application, and that the environmental impact study can be waived. The lot within the existing plan of subdivision 150 be identified as the building envelope to ensure that future development occurs within the benefiting parcel within the subdivision. And again, that's something that I just mentioned that we would be recommending in the implementing zoning bylaw to come. Over and Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority have no issues with the application. There'd be no public comments submitted as the date of the report or since the report was uploaded to your email addresses. Reviewed the application versus the provincial policy statement 2024, and we found no particular issues with it. Reviewed it against the County of Gray official plan. As I mentioned, the lands are designated rural and hazard. There is no development proposed in the hazard lands. The significant woodland constraint is really the only thing on the property overall that we found any particular issues with. And again, if the application keeps the future development out of that area, we see no particular issues with it overall. In terms of the West Gray zoning bylaw, the Metcalf lands are zoned A2 rural and C2 highway commercial and natural environment. The lands to be severed are zoned just A2 rural. As I mentioned, the retained Metcalf lot, in this particular case, the requirement for the A2 zone is 20 hectares. It'll be down to 17.4. Overall, that reduction is minor, and we do require, as a condition of the consent, that a zoning bylaw amendment to be included as a condition of the overall consent. In that regard, we recommend the Committee of Adjustment accept the staff report for B30 2024 for the lot addition. Thank you.
Thank you, Planner Smith. So 8.2 on the agenda is verbal comments. Again, there's two parts. First part is for the committee members, and we'll follow that up with the public comments. So 8.2.1, committee members, have anything any questions or comments on this application? Member Townsend, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Just curious, the 20 hectare requirement that is in place, that's a West Gray bylaw. That's not it's not a county. I'm just trying to wrap my head around why we have rules and sizes of lots and then don't follow them. So that's
Why we don't follow them. So the Planning Act does allow for people to apply to change the rules. So in this particular case, they're suggesting that the West Gray bylaw, as you mentioned, has a 20-hectare size for A2 parcels. This application for consent would not meet that, and therefore they've asked for your permission kind of thing to modify that to the 17.4. In this particular case, you take a look at the A2 parcel that's in this particular case, it's rural, first of all. We don't have a lot of significant agricultural going on the parcel. The size still meets the requirements overall of the county official plan for consents in that regard. And the 20 hectares, I guess you could say in some respects, is just like some of our setback numbers, is a strong suggestion, if I can put it that way. Okay, it's not written in concrete. The numbers in some respects are just numbers that are chosen. So where circumstances warrant, applicants come forward with minor variances or zoning amendments to change those numbers in a relationship to how the parcel works overall. In this particular case, we feel that the application still works as in terms of planning and what will be achieved at the end of the day.
Follow up, Member Townsend? Member Hutchinson, go ahead, sir.
I'm just curious about which lot is the Cooper lot? Is it the one that's to the west of this lot?
Marshall Heights.
Kiffer's
that's
lot
not-
is 150 Marshall Heights Drive.
Right, so is that one to the west or the one to the south of this lot that's being severed? It's adding on to a lot, right, within the subdivision.
Correct. Metcalf is the long arrow one on the north, and the Metcalf lot is the existing lot within the plan of subdivision. Sorry, cut down. The Metcalf long lot is
Yeah,
the
the
long
Metcalf.
narrow lot east-west, and the Kipfer lot
Right.
is 150 Marshall Heights within the plan of subdivision.
Right, okay, so but it's adding on to a lot in the Marshall subdivision to one of the lots that are already there, is that correct?
Correct.
And which one is that? Is it the one to the west or the one to the south?
Could we bring back up the mapping, please, Ashley? We're going to go to page, we'll start with page 48.
Oh, I see. It's adding to the Cooper's lot. Just wasn't sure.
All right, page 48, which is on screen, is both Metcalf and Kipfer in red, okay?
Right.
The little jut out on the south, okay, on the east side, the jut down to the bottom, that's actually Kipfer. Can we go to the next page, please? There's the zoom in on the Kipfer lot that is being enlarged,
Mhm.
okay? From the lands to the north side, the top of the picture is the lands coming in from Metcalf,
Right.
okay? And we're gonna go back to page 47, Ashley.
So is it not a lot? You're saying it's a lot addition, right? So you're adding that lot to an existing lot in the
We're
subdivision.
adding a portion of the Metcalf lot, page, that was 47?
To
Maybe it's,
to another lot.
sorry, let me get the right page myself. Let's go to page 50. That's the chunk being, sorry, 50? 50? There we go, thank you.
Okay. Okay, all right. Get that.
So what you see in this screen here, the red box is being severed from Metcalf and added to Kipfer, which is the boundary along the south line of it.
Okay, I see that now. Thank you.
Pat, your mic's still on there, Member Hutch.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions from the committee members? Before I turn to the public? No, okay, seeing none, we're gonna move on to 8.2.2, public comments. So again, I'm gonna ask Ms. Noble if you could just let people know how they can participate virtually before we turn it to people in attendance. Go ahead, please.
As noted, at the opening of the meeting, public participation must be done through Zoom. Members of the public joining virtually wishing to participate in this portion of the meeting may do so in one of two ways. If you have joined via phone, press star 9 to raise your hand. This will let us know that you would like to speak. Alternatively, star 9 can also be used to lower your hand. If you have joined virtually, you can either raise your hand by clicking either the blue or yellow hand icon located in the bottom corner of your screen, or by sending a chat message to myself, West Gray Communications, either stating that you would like to speak or what you would like read into the record on your behalf.
I can't.
Yeah, excuse me, sir. I'm just doing virtual first. Anybody virtual, and then I will call for the audience. Thank you. Yep. Yep. Thank you. Ms. Noble, you have anybody virtually that has any comments or questions? I can't see. I can't see. Pardon me? Yeah. Okay. Well, is it just is it a comment or somebody virtual? I don't see them on the screen here. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead. You'll have to state your name for the record.
Yeah, it's Colin Lake.
And go ahead, go ahead,
Thank you
sir.
very much. Appreciate it. I'm just wondering, I currently live there, and I was contemplating getting my agricultural license. Does this change anything if I was to like get livestock or decide to do any cash crops or anything like that? Does that have any effect, this severance?
Just one moment. Planner Smith's going to respond here in a minute, but what, can I ask, like, where your property would be in location to this?
It's the Metcalf property.
It's the Metcalf property.
The property is being severed is the question about relationship to livestock?
No, if the back severance happens, does that affect any agricultural use on the Metcalf land? Because there is something mentioned about 20 hectares and 17 hectares.
All right, so the Metcalf property has two zones on it. One of them is an agricultural zone, and that zoning is on it today, A2, which
Right.
means they're allowed to have agricultural uses on the property in accordance with today's A2 zone, and that's not changing from the going forward on the property that the Metcalfs were retained. They would be required to meet any requirements for livestock agriculture, but that is the same as it is today.
But by shrinking the land parcel, would that have any effect?
No, it has it has an impact in terms of the potential number of livestock that could be supported on the property, but that goes into nutrient management and nutrient management planning also. So yes and no, but they could have animals on the property just like they can have today. The size of a barn and so on and so forth, that is a question for building department.
So that there could be some negative aspects from this then.
This has no impact on the Metcalf's ability to have livestock today, whether or not the severance goes through or not.
Okay.
Anything further, sir?
No, that's everything.
Okay, well, thank you. Ms. Noble, do you have anybody else virtually that has a question? Okay, we can let them in. Thanks, Kevin. I can't do short. You get it.
Perfect. Well,
Yeah.
you're telling me.
Thank you. Yeah, I know.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, I'm a little unfamiliar with this format, so.
Okay, well, you're actually attending virtually. We are in the Committee of Adjustment. We're on the public comments under 8.2.2. So
Okay.
if you have a question or a comment about this particular application, if you could just
Yes, I do.
state your name for the record, and then the floor is yours, please.
my name is Jane Lake, and I have read some of the documentation. I'm not an expert by any means about the reports about the severage. I'm a little concerned about what I read, that your ecologist said that an environmental assessment was not required. Am I correct there?
That's correct.
Okay, and then, so given that an environmental assessment isn't being done, I think there was some county directive about the trees and some worry about logging and what will happen if the forest and they're taking down the trees. And there was something about compensation with trees, 2 trees to 1, if they were certain circumference or something. And then I read that the council has decided that that isn't even necessary. But this is a man who has chopped down trees on the property before. He's accessed the aggregates without permission. And I'm not entirely sure if there's enough safeguards in here that he's going to follow to protect the wildlife and the natural parts of that, the habitat for the wildlife and the nature, the rural nature aspect of this. He's also put in a road on the Metcalf lot with gravel so that he can take out aggregate. This was before, I think, Metcalf was an owner. And the previous owner was forced to put up a fence to stop him from doing that. So I'm a little concerned about these things.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Planner Smith to comment. So just to be clear on some of your questions, or do you need a recap?
No, I think we can try this. We don't prejudge the actions of property owners in some respects. We do our best in terms of things such as zoning, and in this particular case, a recommendation that West Grade Council will hear regarding the zoning in terms of I like the music.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. And West Grade Council will hear in terms of the zoning about building within the woodlands portion of this property, which aligns in some respects with the County of Gray's comments. Enforcing our rules has never been easy in West Gray, in Gray County, in Ontario. In that regard, we do our best. We inform property owners at times of the rules and so on and so forth, but we're certainly not everywhere at all times with the ability to enforce various rules that belong to us or the county. So in this particular case, the owners are, I guess, placed on notice in terms of laws such as the County of Gray tree cutting bylaw and things like that, and so on and so forth. And we, hope that they abide by the rules as set by West Gray and the county,
Well,
but we won't prejudge them in terms of this particular application, in terms of what may happen in the future.
Sorry. Then could I ask a follow-up question?
Go ahead, please.
Then, okay, so what I was reading is that your ecologist was saying that there was no environmental study required, but part of the council was concerned about that. And they put in this requirement for the trees to be replaced. If any trees were taken down, that they would be replaced 2 for 1 after a certain height of tree. And then you remove that requirement. And I'm wondering why you remove that when there isn't even an environmental assessment happening. And now you've removed the requirement to replace the trees.
We've removed the ability to build, or sorry, we would recommend we remove the ability to build a garage, a house, a shed, a shanty within the woodlands portion of that. After that, with no building kind of going on, you're left with forest management under the County of Grey Forest Management Bylaw, which has certain rules associated with that. So I think we will see about doing our duty as West Grey Council looks at the zoning bylaw to come. So, yeah.
All right, so there will be some sort of addressing my concerns in that respect.
Yes, it's what Planner Smith has identified. He would bring further information on that. Do you have any further questions?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, thank you. I do see somebody virtually on the screen here has their hand up. So if you could just please state your name and the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Can everybody hear me okay?
Sure can.
Okay, I'm Yanni Brewer and I am the applicant in this application. I work for Questa Planning Consultants. And I'm representing Mr. Kepfer today here. I think maybe just to clarify, if I understand correctly, is it Ms. Lake or Mrs. Lake? I think maybe what you could possibly referring to is in relation to the agenda application 7, where the policy of the county that has not been implemented yet for tree compensation, that recommendation from the county, Mr. Smith, maybe you can help me here, but I think that is where you set aside or ask that that recommendation be set aside until such a time as that policy is coming to effect. But this is for application number 8, Mr. Kepfer's. Application 7 was for another owner, the Zays. I think maybe, I don't know, maybe if there's possibly some confusion there.
Yes, so thank you for bringing that forward. I was going back through my notes looking at, do you have a comment? She's still online there, Ms. Noble? I can't see up there.
Hello?
Hi, there. Go ahead, please.
I wasn't quite sure. I wasn't quite sure what she said. I'm having a little bit of audio issues. Could somebody recap that?
Sure, I can do it quickly. So what the comment was regarding was application number 7 on today's agenda, which is B33-2024. So if you were reading that part of that and then you rolled into number 8, I think it's not what the suggestion or thought was that maybe you read in that application where it's referencing the trees, etc.
Okay, all right.
So that is
I
a
will-
different, okay, that is a different application though. So that language is really wasn't in the one that you were questioning, but you're more than welcome to have a comment. Go ahead, please.
Okay, well, I will certainly have another look and see if that's what I did. If that is true, then I apologize.
Oh, no, that's fine. And well, you read the report in detail, but you read them all, so that's good. But again, yeah, there's 3 applications here. If you don't have any other questions, I will go back to see if you have a follow-up that's online.
Could I
here.
just say one
One
follow-up?
moment, excuse me, one moment, please. I will go back and I'll be calling for anybody else who would like to speak on it. So we'll just do one at a time. Do you have any other comments, ma'am?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And is there any other comments virtually?
Yeah, Colin Lake here.
Yep, go ahead, Colin.
Thank you. Sorry for interrupting previously. I think that the environmental survey was still applied to this application. So the point is still valid, I believe.
Okay, I'm just going to take that as a comment for now. Is there
Sounds good,
anybody
thank you.
else virtually that has any comments or questions before I turn it to the audience, sir? Ms. Noble, you have any more? I can't see whether Mr. Kev. No. No? Okay. All right. Is there anybody in attendance here that has a comment or question? If you do, you have to come to the table here, please. There is a form for you to sign in. I'll give you some play-by-play when you get there. How's that? But yeah, you just, you got to sign in and then, yes, sir.
Okay, I think my comments are.
Yeah, we're gonna get you just,
Okay, all right.
one step at a time here, just, if you don't mind. Because there is people attending virtually, so then we're gonna need you to push the mic. And then the floor is yours after you state your name. How's that sound? The world of virtual, extra steps. Okay, and there's a gray button on your mic there, sir. If I could just get you to push that, and if you just state your name for the record.
Yeah.
So that those attending virtually know who's speaking, and the floor is yours.
Okay, my name's Walter Andrushenko, and I live on Marshall Heights. And I think my comments have been answered in the what happened on the virtual, but I just want some clarification. This land that is being severed and added on to the corner lot on Marshall Heights, from what I'm understanding, it is protected land at this point, like it can't be developed. Is this correct?
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna direct your question to Planner Smith. If we have those details for you. So Planner Smith, you have a comment or question or response?
So the current zoning on the property is A2 on the Metcalf property, okay? Property being severed. A2 allows you to have agriculture such as a barn, corn, soybeans, livestock,
Right.
forestry, outbuildings, so on and so forth. So yes, that can be built on the property today, anywhere on the property today.
Mm-hmm.
After the fact, if you want to talk about that, after the severance, we are suggesting at this particular time that the portion being added, that it only be looked at as undevelopable land,
Right.
trees. That the lot within the subdivision itself would be the part that's buildable. And that the rest of it is a nice forested area, but that has not been decided yet. And the West Gray Council, this council will decide that at a later date.
Okay. Well, I mean, my only comment would be is I would like to see it protected as green space. That's my 2 cents worth.
Thank you. And any follow-up, any other?
No, that's
Thank
it.
you. If you just hit your mic there, I
Yep.
appreciate it. Thank you for your participation. Anybody else in attendance here that has any comments? Okay, seeing none, we're gonna circle back. Ms. Noble, do you have, oh, yes, go ahead. Well, go back to you virtually. So the floor is yours. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon. I believe my client, Mr. Kepfer, is also in attendance, and we did have a discussion earlier about a holding provision possibly being placed on the significant woodland feature. We had some back and forth with Mr. Smith about this, and then clarification from Ms. Cassandra Dillman at the county planning staff level. I don't know, Mr. Smith or Mr. Kepfer, would you still be open to that possibility of adding upon the prohibition of development in the significant woodland feature and the section that is the lot addition lands to maintain the character of Marshall Heights, and adding a holding provision to require an EIS, an environmental impact study, be completed should any future development ever be considered on that section? I know Mr. Kepfer is willing to entertain or consider options to make sure that that feature is protected and that the community is satisfied with this proposal. So I don't know, Mr. Kepfer, if you would be willing to speak to that.
Sorry? Okay, yeah, I prefer that you would get, just so everybody virtually can hear you. We won't need, again, you could please sign your name in just in there, and then once we're done that, then I'll get you to push the gray button and state your name for the record, and the floor will be yours. And did you hear the whole question or? Okay, if you see the gray button on the mic, if you can just press that, state your name for the record, and I'll let you respond to that statement or question.
Yes, I am David Kepfer. I'm the owner of lot 150, I guess it is. I also live up the street at 125. No, at this point, I just basically wanted the parcels together. The building lot at this point is in line with all the other houses in Marshall Heights. Actually, I already have it prepped for a walkout basement house. I had no intentions for the back area, but maybe somebody down the road might. So I don't want to block off options for down the road, but for myself, I have no intention of, I've just used it as recreation lands all these years.
Thank you. Any further comments virtually or in attendance? Planner Smith, you don't have a comment, it's just, that was more of a statement, so I don't think there's no question there. You have any questions, sir? You good?
No.
Okay, just wanted to mic then, thank you. Okay, is there anybody else would like to speak to this in the public today, whether it's virtually or in attendance? You gotta go real high. Oh, there we go. Okay, yeah, go ahead, please. Sorry about that.
Okay. Just one more comment, Mr. Colin Blake. You did have a question on it, or was it Ms. Lake? I'm not sure. You did have questions about, is this land protected, the significant woodland feature, and it is significant woodland feature, but it is not zoned environmental protection zone. I just wanted to clarify that. It is not zoned environmental protection zone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
This section, sorry, this section that is being added, the lot addition lands, that section is not environmental protection zone.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other comments or questions? Ms. Noble, nothing? Anybody else in attendance today? Okay, committee members were satisfied? Okay. Go ahead, sir. All right. You know the drill. Pen in hand. Yeah. Okay, and then just a gray button and state your name for the record. Do you have a question for, well, just put the question out. We'll find the right person to answer it. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm hearing impaired, even though I do have hearing aids in. So I
If I could
didn't
just
quite.
get you, I'm sorry to interrupt, if I could just get you to state your name for the record, just so everybody.
Beg pardon?
Hear your name. Sorry.
Jerry Galena, sorry.
Thank you.
And yeah, so like I said, I'm hearing impaired, even though I have hearing aids, and I didn't quite catch the whole thing here. So my question is, what is the end game here? Why is this severance from the Metcalf property required to add on to this property in Marshall Heights? What is the purpose of this?
Right. Right.
Hold on, I'm gonna get a mic here, please. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna direct your question to our planner. It's an application from, to us. So I'm gonna let Planner Smith respond to you, sir, please.
I think you actually just answered the question, is that we don't question in some respects the big term intentions of a property owner. We give them lots, we give them zoning zoning comes with certain rights within that, if the applications meet the policy requirements, then people go on and they decide whether or not to use the lands according to the zoning that they have. They don't need to prove to us as why in particular they want this particular arrangement or this size or whatever in that matter, as long as it meets the policies. So no, there's no requirement to show intent other than the zoning on the property is going to stay as R1A within Marshall Heights and whatever it ends up with on the other side in terms of the lot addition. So that is the intent at the end of the day.
Okay, so my next question is, I didn't quite understand the first part of this application. I guess there's two of them, right? The first one was a sliver of land off something on side road, fronting on side road 2, the property, is that true?
What we have today, this committee of adjustments, we have 3 applications. So the last one was a different application. This application before us here is specific to this one. And then we have another one after that, but again, it's another parcel of land elsewhere.
Oh, we haven't addressed this yet. Is that what you're saying?
Which one? This one here we're discussing, this is item number 8.
Okay, so I can't comment on the previous one?
That one is closed now.
Okay.
So yeah, that is closed and the decision is made. But right now we're at item number 8. And this is application B30 2024-313-237 Highway 6. That's what we're discussing now. Application, the one prior was item number 7. That is supposed finished on the agenda. It's done. It's been commented and voted on.
But they're all linked together, is that not true?
No. They're different applications for different parcels.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions, sir? Okay.
No. that's
Thank
it.
you. Thank you very much. Okay. Anybody else have any questions that's attending, whether it be virtually or in the chamber here today? Before I move on and Mr. Noble, anything else? No? Okay, I am going to move on to item number 8.3, and that's decision by the committee. What direction would the committee like to take with this application? Member Hutchinson, go ahead, sir.
I'd like to move that we accept the application based on our planner's recommendation.
Thank you, Member Hutchinson. Is there a seconder for that motion? Member Eccles. Thank you, sir. Okay, everybody's got the recommendation form. Is there any comments, questions, concerns, anything before we call the vote? Okay, seeing none from the members. All those members in favor, you can just raise your hands, please. Okay, I see 1, 2, 4 in favor. Those opposed? I see 2 opposed, so that is carried as passed, 4-2. Planner Smith, under 8.4, what is the next step, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Planning Department will issue a notice of decision with the conditions have been approved by the committee. There will be an appeal period for agencies and for the applicant. Following the end of the appeal period for the applicant and agencies only, the applicant can come forward and satisfy the conditions of the draft approval and move forward with the creation of the lot. There are a number of conditions that have been mentioned. Number 1 is the zoning amendment in the conditions. Number 2 is the requirement for a deeming bylaw. The zoning amendment will come back to West Gray Council and there'll be a notice of public meeting regarding the zoning on the property, in particular the lot addition itself and on the retained Metcalf portion. Thank you.
Thank you, Planner Smith. Okay, so to be clear with everybody, whether you're attended virtually or here, we have finished item number 7 and number 8. So those are completed on the agenda. Now we are going to go back, as we have discussed at the start of the meeting, and we were going to go back to item number 6, and that's application number B21-2024-142-239 Gray Road 9. And under 6.1, this is a report from Planner Smith. Planner Smith, if you could just read your report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The application is for a, sorry, B21-2024. This application was deferred at the October 1st, 2024 Committee of Adjustment meeting. I'm going to ask Ashley if you could go to page 19 of the PDF online. Thank you. On the screen is B21-2024 with a severed lot 1 in red and a retained lot in blue. There is nothing else associated with this application. Severn retained, red and blue. We go one more, please. Ashley, page 20. This is the parcel as a whole. It's sort of irregular in shape, as you can see, and is comprised of parts of 3 original township lots. Thanks. The parcel is comprised of part lot 26, part lot 27, and lot 28 concession 10 Normandy. The total parcel is 110.2 hectares in size, 273 acres. So as you can see, basically the original 3 township lots with 2 chunks taken out, which is why we're sitting at 272.3 acres. Purpose and effect of the application is to sever the 1 agricultural lot. That severed lot 1 is 38.6 hectares with frontage on the Gray Road 9, and the retained lot is 71.6 hectares with frontage also onto Gray Road 9. A concurrent zoning bylaw amendment application was also submitted together with the consent, as the 38.6 proposed severed agricultural lot will be less than the 40 hectares minimum lot area requirement of the West Gray zoning bylaw. The property is designated agricultural and hazard in the Gray official plan. There's an aggregate resource area. Significant woodland constraints are also identified on the lot. The lot is subject to Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority regulated area in part. There would be a dwelling and farm buildings on both the severed and the retained agricultural lots. And in fact, on the severed portion, there is currently a house and some agricultural buildings, and the retained is vacant or has some miscellaneous agricultural buildings. In terms of previous report, there actually was no previous report. The planning report from the October 1st Committee of Adjustment meeting was not presented to the Committee of Adjustment. We had, there was a deferral on that application prior to the report being presented, which is why it's not included in your package today, which is why this is a brand new public meeting / with a report associated with it. In terms of the application, we circulated the application to West Gray Public Works, West Gray Building. There'd be no concerns from both of those departments on the application. The County of Gray Planning Ecologist noted that an environmental impact study can be waived for this application. The 2 parcels, the severed and retained, are far larger than, more than large enough to accommodate a house and agricultural buildings on it, so the EIS would not be required in that particular case. County of Gray comments of November 5th, 2024 is provided positive comments are received from the Conservation Authority and County Transportation Services are addressed. County planning staff have no concerns with the subject application. The county transportation has mentioned that the existing field entrances will require a change of usage permit to reflect the change to residential if a new house is built and barns are built on the retained. There's already, as I mentioned, an existing driveway and house on these potential severed. Saugeen Valley find no issues with the particular application. Comments from the public. Patterson Planning Consultants representing Robert Scriven and William Scriven, owners of a 300 acre of land directly north of the subject property, submitted a letter of objection dated September 27th, 2024, as it pertains to consent applications B21, 2024 and B22, 2024, and by default, the zoning amendment application that was concurrent. The objection in summary states that quite simply, policy 5228 of the Gray official plan policy does not permit lot creation on parcels less than 40 hectares in size. The comment is included in your planning report. In my regard, our comment back to them to this particular application and to the comments from Patterson Planning is that it's my understanding that the Scriven objection pertained primarily to application B2224 and not to B2124, which is the subject of this report. The small parcel size at B2224 had certainly created a number of comments from Patterson Planning Consultants and from the Scrivens in that particular regard. So I'm not dismissing them, but I believe in general those comments regarding lot size were in relationship to B22-2024. The existing parcel of 273 acres comprised of 3 township lots. Part lot 26 is 95 acres. part lot 27, 74, and lot 28 is 102.05 for that total of 273. The severed lot 1 being part lot 26 is going to be 95.4 with the retained of 177 acres. Existing house, barn, and shed on the lot to be severed. And again, no buildings and structures on the retained. Most of the parcel is farmland or forested. Committee of Adjustment held a public meeting on the two related consent applications, 21 and 22, on October 1st, 2024. The two consent files proposed the severance of 2 lots plus a retained lot. The Committee of Adjustment deferred the decision on both consent files, B21 and 2022, on the recommendation of myself, the Manager of Planning. This report and recommendations apply only again to consent file 2021-24, the severance of 1 lot, part lot 26, plus the retained part lot 27 and 28. A separate report and recommendation on consent file B2022 will be provided to the Committee of Adjustment. Although it's our understanding that B22 2024 has been withdrawn. Following documents were submitted by Law of Planning in support of the application: planning justification letter, agricultural study, and a farm business plan. In regards to provincial planning statement, in October 2024, the new provincial planning statement applies to all decisions in respect of the exercise of any authority that affects the planning matter, including a consent that's being reviewed by this Committee of Adjustment. We reviewed the application versus the natural heritage policies, the agricultural policies, the mineral aggregate policies, the natural hazard policies of the provincial planning statement, and it's my opinion that the consent is consistent with the provincial planning statement. In regards to the County of Grey official plan, the subject lands are designated as agriculture and hazard, and Schedule B identifies aggregate resource areas on the lands, and Appendix B also identifies significant woodlands on the lands. In terms of agricultural area, minimum size requirement. Policy 5231A of the County of Grey official plan requires new agricultural lots to generally be 40 hectares, 100 acres in size, to reduce the fragmentation of agricultural land. And the word generally is used on purpose. Official plans are not zoning bylaws also. They do not structure them that way like a zoning bylaw where 20 hectares is a number. If you're below the 20 hectares, you get a zoning amendment or a minor variance. Official plans are written in the general sense. And the word generally is what the word the county uses in regards to the 40 hectare, 100 acres in size. And the reason for that is because not all of our lots were 100 acres to begin with when the Crown created them. We have gore lots, we have short-ended lots, we have lots that butt up against lakes and so on and so forth. So not all original township lots, even in the agricultural areas, were 100 acres to begin with. So the county uses a generally. The proposed 38.6 hectare severed and the 71.6 hectare agricultural lots meet the intent of the minimum lot size requirements of generally 100 acres. Agricultural area minimum distance separation. We reviewed the MDS requirements for the lots. A new dwelling would be constructed on the agricultural lot to be retained. There is sufficient land on the retained lot to meet the MDS 1 requirements of a new dwelling to existing barns in the area. In regards to aggregate resource area, minimum lot size requirement, policy 5628 aggregate resource area states non-farm size lot creation unless lots, sorry, non-farm size lot creation of lots less than 20 hectares in size will not be permitted in aggregate resource areas. And we don't have that in this particular case. A non-farm lot in an agricultural area is less than 40 hectares. But as we just stated, that generally 40 hectares is accepted as being within the 40 hectare range. For example, if you were at 39.9, somebody wouldn't say that you're not at the 40 hectares. So accepting the 38.6 hectare retained severed lot is meeting the generally 40 hectares, meets the overall intent of the agricultural policies and the overall intent of the aggregate policies in terms of severing a lot within the aggregate resource area. The hazard lands issues, there's no buildings or structures proposed within the hazard lands and sufficient lands outside the hazard lands for construction. In terms of significant woodlands, again, there is more than sufficient area outside of the significant woodlands, and we see no proposed building within that, and no EIS was required. Overall, in the opinion that the consent conforms to the policies of the County of Grey official plan. Excuse me. The West Grey zoning bylaws zones the lands as A1 agriculture and any natural environment. The A1 zone sets a lot area minimum of 40 hectares. As I mentioned, a concurrent zoning bylaw amendment application has been submitted for the proposed 38.6 hectare agricultural lot. The A1 zone sets a minimum front yard minimum of 20 meters for residential and accessory buildings. The current dwelling on the severed lot or proposed severed lot has a front yard of approximately 5 meters. It would be considered to be a legal non-conforming status considering how long it's been there. And we will be able to recognize that within the zoning bylaw. We have included a condition regarding a zoning bylaw amendment to be enforced in effect in the provisional consent. And overall, we do find that the application does meet the intent and purpose of the West Gray zoning bylaw and represents good planning. Therefore, we recommend that the application is presented and the conditions presented for B21 2024 be accepted by the Committee of Adjustment. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Planner Smith. A lot of detail there, and there's a lot of moving targets for sure, so. Well, I just actually, if I just wait a sec here for Planner Smith, just stepped out to grab a drink of water, so. For all that, I can be thirsty. Those attending virtually, we're just waiting for our planner. He had to step out, just get a drink of water. So he is back now, and we're at the next item. We've concluded the report from planning. So that takes us to 6.2 verbal comments. Again, two items or two sides of this item. 6.2.1 is committee members, and then we'll follow that up with the virtual or anybody in attendance who would like to speak to the matter publicly. So 6.2.1 committee members, do you have any comments or questions at this time? Member Townsend, go ahead, sir. Please.
Thank you. And I guess to Planner Smith, a lot of the, I'll call it debate of the day, will go around the word generally, I guess, because a lot of the stuff that we read at the county level says 40 hectares. And generally, so we're getting into ballparking things. So it makes it kind of, I find it makes it kind of, it's better when we got cut and dried numbers. If it's 40, it's 40. If it's 38, it's 38. And weaving and bobbing around rules, I find is a very slippery slope. So I just, I find it, again, very hard when we start using words like generally and where they're going to take us as a municipality as to enforcing rules and adhering to rules. And I guess maybe that's more of a statement than anything else, but it just something we need to be aware of.
Yeah, I believe that would be more of a statement. I don't think there was a question in there, so your statement is has been heard. Thank you. Any other comments? Member Noon, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Under page 3, under the planning comment, you make an observation that Scriven was pertaining to the last application, that they were more in opposition of B22 of 2024, but I'll wait to see what they have comments to that. I had the understanding that it was generally the whole application because it just didn't fit the criteria for the aggregate at that time, the objection to that not being noted, and the fact that the parcels were much smaller than the 40 hectares. Also on page 4, you make it known that B2022 of 2024 report will be coming. Now, you did verbally say that application has been withdrawn. I would appreciate that it be noted somewhere that in written that it has been withdrawn, that, you know, we have that covered, that proposed B22 of 2024 will not be brought forward again. Thank you.
If I may. Ms. Loft is online, and we'll speak to together with the applicants here. And she has sent a withdrawn letter to myself, but I will not prejudice anybody from coming forward tomorrow or the day after with an application. That is their right to do so. So yes, in this particular case, B22 has been withdrawn at this moment, but there's nothing stopping from the owners of any property from coming forward in 2 days, 2 months, 2 years with an application, even though it had been withdrawn at a particular time and place. So yes, it's been withdrawn, as in it will not be coming back to this committee until, if ever, it may never. And I think that's where we're sitting at the moment. But I cannot prejudice somebody saying that you withdrew your application in 2025, you can't bring it back. So that part, I think we both understand that. So in that regard, the 100 acres, to 95 acres, this is not uncommon within my business. And I have worked in numerous municipalities in this part of Ontario, Bruce County and Grey County, and obviously. And this 95 or whatever it is generally not recognizes that policies are not 100% written in stone for official plans, that there needs to be some flexibility within that. And yes, sorry, other counselor is that, it becomes difficult when you say, well, I got 91. Is that generally 100? Yeah, it becomes difficult. There's no doubt about it. But at this particular size, at 38.4, 5 acres, it doesn't get much better than that. We do that with surplus farm dwelling services and sometimes larger with that to take off of agricultural parcels. And that's basically what happened here with the one corner in some respects. So I do generally feel, as obviously I wouldn't have recommended it to you otherwise, that it meets the intent of what we're trying to achieve in the countryside in terms of creating agricultural parcels. Thanks.
Follow up, Ms. Jones, go ahead.
Well, to my understanding, anything that happened to, even prior to amalgamation, prior to 40 years ago, when things were done differently then. So I get it when they bring new plans or policies, official plans, whatever the case may be, anything prior has been kind of allowed in those plans, but anything new has to comply to rules and regulations. So when you're starting to tweak a little bit here, but then another application may come in and it's that this is the way it has to be. That's where I'm just really misled as a committee member, what's right and what's wrong. So it's still a learning curve, but it just leaves such negativity as to some applications where it's going and how that planning process tries to sell it or not sell it. I realize you're going by what your expertise is, and I applaud that, but it's just those unknown that I have a real hard time dealing with. Thank you.
Member Noon. Comments or questions, sir? Down there, any comments or questions? Comments or questions this time? Okay, seeing none. Okay, before I turn it to the people in attendance, if anybody wanted to speak, I'm going to go virtually. And I'm going to ask Ms. Noble if you could just let the participants know, anybody that's in attendance, I do see 2 on the screen. If you can let them know how they can participate, and anybody else virtually, and then we will call on each one as when we get to that point. But go ahead, please.
If you've joined via phone, press *9 to raise your hand. This will let us know that you would like to speak. Alternatively, *9 can also be used to lower your hand. If you have joined virtually, you can either raise your hand by clicking either the blue or yellow hand icon located in the bottom corner of your screen, or by sending a chat message to myself, West Grey Communications, either stating that you would like to speak or what you would like read into the record on your behalf.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair.
Yes, good afternoon, Ms. Loft. Would you like to speak to this item?
Yes, I would. Thank you. And I'm sorry, I don't see the hand. I normally do.
Oh, that's fine. Well, if you can use your virtual hand or your live hand, but anyways, the floor is yours. It's Ms. Loft. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. So good afternoon, Christine Loft with Loft Planning, and I am representing the applicants today, and apologies for not being there, but it was a bit of a snow globe here when I would have needed to leave. So apologies for not being there. So I will be brief just because Planner Smith did provide quite an overview of the process and his staff report. So the proposed consent today is B 21, 2024, related to lands known as 142239 Gray Road 9. And as committee is aware, we were before you on October 1st, 2024. At that time, we were before you for 2 consent applications, and the file was deferred with regard to concerns related to lot area, primarily dealing with B22, as well as the aggregate resource policies, which were raised at the meeting by Mr. Scriven. And so the application was deferred. Since that time, the applicants have agreed to withdraw file B22, 2024, and to only move forward with consent file B21, 2024. Just to committee member Noon's comment, the withdrawal letter is certainly part of the public record. So with regard to seeing that, it's certainly, I did submit it on behalf of the applicants to Mr. Smith. So as a result of that withdrawal, the proposed consent before committee today does remain unchanged from the application that was before you on October 21st as it October 1st, as it relates to B21. And so it proposes to create an agricultural parcel of land having a lot area of approximately 38.6 hectares and retaining a lot of 71.6 hectares. The severance does follow the original lot fabric, and I think that that's important to note, just even after listening to some of the comments received from committee members. There certainly is land available for these parcels to both be 40 hectares, but the preference is by the applicant to maintain the original lot fabric. And from a planner's perspective, I would support that. We usually do try to maintain original lot fabric where possible. And typically I see that committee members also generally would prefer original lot fabric being followed rather than uneven lines or the creation of new lines straying from the original lot fabric. The subject lands are designated agricultural and hazard in the county OP, and the lands are zoned A1 and natural environment NE in the West Grey zoning bylaw. As Planner Smith has identified, a zoning bylaw amendment is required to recognize the lot area of the severed parcel, and the natural environment zone would remain unchanged. We have reviewed Planner Smith's proposed conditions, and we would support those conditions. And I would just note that following the October 2024 committee meeting, I did meet with county staff and had a thorough discussion about the consent applications, the proposal overall. And from that meeting, the county did provide comments to municipal staff with regard to B21, and that the county could support the B21 application as it related both with respect to their consent policies, the lot area policies, as well as the aggregate resource policies. Those comments did speak to B22 as well, but before you is only the B21 application. Committee member Noon had also just commented on the aggregate resource, and I think it's just worthy of recalling that the discussion on October 1 was related to the concern about the undersized lot of B22 and how that relates to the policies surrounding the aggregate resource policies. And so with respect to only B21, in my opinion, the aggregate resource policies are met, and certainly the county staff comments reflect that. And those are my comments. The applicants, I believe, are in the audience today, and I'm happy to answer any questions. This has been quite an application process for the applicants who are simply wanting to establish new farms on a property that's 110 hectares in your municipality. And we would certainly appreciate support today for B21 in order that the applicants can move forward with establishing now two farmsteads, one on the severed and one on the retained. And those are my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, it's been quite a bit of reading for us as well at the committee level, so. Well, before I go on I do acknowledge your hand, sir, on screen, Mr. Scrivens, but it just get many members, I know we've already had a comment. Do you have any questions right now specific for Ms. Lopp, so we can move this along a little bit? Okay, none at all. Okay, I'm going to go to Mr. Scrivens on screen. If you could just, the floor is yours. If you just state your name for the record and go ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. Robert Scriven. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you so much. First of all, as a preliminary matter, thank you for allowing me to participate virtually. I had a prior commitment. Second, since I joined late, but the fact that this is at the end of the agenda, I also want to thank you for considering that and putting it to the end. And then the third preliminary matter is I trust that the Committee of Adjustment has received my letter from my father and I dated January 31. Was that circulated? I sent it to Mr. Smith. I'm seeing blank faces. So
I'm sorry, I don't recall seeing it myself. Just one moment there, Mr. Scriven. I'm just going to look at the members here. Okay, no, it was not circulated to us, sir.
okay, so that's okay. Was the letter of Mr. Patterson on our behalf for the planning opinions, was that circulated? Because that was also submitted yesterday.
Okay, I'm just going to check with the committee members here. Anybody receive any? No, just to respond to that one as well, Mr. Scrivens, no, we did not receive that document as well, or that paperwork.
That's okay. It would be my preference for you to review that before you vote, but you don't need to, because I'm going to make it really simple. Section 5.2.2.8 of the official plan, there's no generally, there's no wishy-washy. It's 40 hectares in an aggregate resource zone. I agree with Ms. Loft. I agree with Mr. Smith that if we're dealing with a undersized farm somewhere outside of the aggregate resource zone, then we can have some flexibility, but it's not here. And I agree with Councillor Townsend that there's a lot of weaving and bobbing around here. It must be remembered that not only my family, but a neighbor approached West Grey a year and a half ago to do this exact same thing and was told uncategorically no. And we respect that. We follow rules. Second point, and you know, I don't want to weigh in on all the planning opinions. That's why we've hired Mr. Patterson to provide that. But don't allow the issue to be obfuscated that generally is okay. It's an aggregate resource area. And quite frankly, we're advancing this because I'm concerned that this Committee of Adjustment or a future council will be strong-armed into a position to say, well, you allowed something generally in an aggregate resource area before, so let us do this open pit. Let us do this. Let us do that. The final point I want to make is with regard to Ms. Loft's comment of maintaining the original lot fabric, simply wanting to establish new farms. We must remember this property has been farmed in its current lot fabric for generations, and it will continue to be farmed. There's not going to be any farm land that's not going to be growing a crop. Okay, so you know, I'm very disappointed that the lengthy letter that I provided with my concerns and my father's concerns were not circulated. My father and I have paid Mr. Patterson for his opinion, and his opinion is as I've reflected. Aggregate resource zone is a different kettle of fish. They've tried once, they've tried twice, and now we hear from Mr. Smith that he's not going to stop them from trying a third time. End it today, please. Those are my submissions.
Thank you, Mr. Scrivener. I apologize for the little dry cough there, but, okay. Is there anybody else virtually, that you have? Ms. Noble has a comment? Yes? Oh, Ms. Loff, your hand's up. Go ahead. I see that.
Yes, thank you. Through the chair, just to the comments regarding the aggregate resource area, we did follow up with county staff on this. We did have a thorough discussion about the policies, and the county concluded in their opinion that they felt that the policy was met, and they did provide that comment in their revised comments dated November 5th, 2024. So I do think that that the committee can certainly consider that those policies have been met with regard to the county official plan policy that Mr. Scriven has identified, and that we have had a thorough discussion on it with county staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Loff. Yes, go ahead, Mr. Scrivener. I see your hand up.
I really do. This will be, I promise, my last comment. But the November 5 comments, I'm looking at the agenda right now, and I may have missed them, but I don't see them. I see Mr. Smith's planning report, and I see the schedules to the OP. And again, I will take Ms. Loft at her word. I'm not doing anything but that. But I don't see these comments, and I haven't been able to comment on them. So I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, Ms. Lofty, Planner Smith does have a comment. If you want to just wait, you get down. So what I'm going to do is going to go to Planner Smith, then I'll circle back to the two of you, or I might just check with the committee real quick before we do that. Then I'm going to turn it to the audience here. So if we're all comfortable with that. Planner Smith, you have a comment. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And categorically, for the record, we have a letter from the County of Grey. We summarize letters for the purposes of your meetings. And in your planning report, County of Grey comments, November 5th, 2024, provided positive comments are received from the Conservation Authority, and County Transportation Services comments are addressed. County planning staff have no concerns with the application. None with the application, not with the aggregate policies, not with the size of the farm parcel. If they had concerns with the size, the 40, the 38, whatever it is, they would have said so. And they did say so on B22. And they had no concerns over the aggregate policies, of which they had mentioned on B22. They had no concerns whatsoever, uncategorically, and I will provide that record to Mr. Scriven or to whoever else, to this committee, whatever it is, in its full form as required. But we provide a summary for you, so you don't need to read pages and pages of letters to figure out what's kind of going on. That is our comment. That is the comment Ms. Loft has made, and that is the comment I'm making on those particular policies from the county, who you asked to interpret county official plan policies in addition to us. Thanks.
Okay, so let's just we're going to get through this. Everybody relax, please. Well, no, there's a lot. I think, and I respect what you said there, Planner Smith. I think, some of the challenges that I'm kind of hearing here is, there's some information that wasn't shared with us. That's, I think, what the concern was. And, in all fairness, I think that's what the committee was looking for. That's all. That's my take on it. So anyways, I am going to go back to Ms. Lopp. You did have your hand up before I went to Planner Smith. Go ahead, please.
Thank you through the chair. I just wanted to confirm that the comments were addressed directly to the municipality and not to me. I just wanted Mr. Scriven to know that. So I think Planner Smith has indicated that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Scriven, do you have anything to virtually before I go to attendance? I promise both of you I will circle back, but we'll just see if anybody in the audience has any comments, unless you have somebody else, Ms. Noble, virtually that has a comment.
No, I want to be clear. I'm not looking for confrontation. I said that in October 1st. And this is a consequential decision to be made. And so I agree with you, Deputy Mayor Hutchinson. We all need to take a breath here, but it's important. And information is important. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Planner Smith, your mic's still on, sir, just so you know. just in case you're mumbling anything there. Which I know you wouldn't, you're professional, but anyways, now what I want to do, check back with Ms. Noble, nothing, okay. Is there anybody in attendance here right now that would like to speak to this item, this particular application? Okay. Welcome, sir. So I'll get you sign in there, please. And then you can just state your name for the record, and the floor is yours.
So good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of committee and the public. My name is Scott Patterson with Patterson Planning Consultants. Definitely disappointed to hear that you did not receive the submission that I made yesterday. It was a 5-page letter speaking to the staff report and our concerns with regard to the official plan policies and how they're being implemented. My presentation is based on that letter. It was very short because I thought the letter would speak for itself. I think the primary concern that we have today naturally is just the interpretation of the policy. As Mr. Scriven spoke to, there is wording in the official plan that speaks to generally. I fully acknowledge that. The generally policies that are referenced are, in my mind, for lands that are outside the aggregate resource overlay. As soon as the aggregate resource overlay is applied to a property, policy 5.2.28 applies. It's very clear in the official plan that that policy applies as soon as that overlay is applicable to lands. And that policy specifically says 40 hectares. There's no generally in that policy. So that's the basis of this concern, and it's clearly outlined in the letter that I prepared. It is unfortunate the county comments were not made available to the public. I would have benefited from those naturally. I think it's fair to say that I do have some concerns considering that the county and the planning department were both ready to support both applications on October 1st. So they were ready to support the applications on October 1st, and it was only because of the items that I brought forward that we're revisiting these applications today, and now we're down to one application. Granted, they've taken another look at it, and rightfully so, but I to date have not seen a response or comments that speak to policy 5.2.8 and why 40 hectares is not being enacted on these lands. It's very clear. I've explained it in my letter. I really wish you had a copy of that. It's unfortunate you don't. But that is the nature of the concern. I fully agree that if this application was for anywhere else and it wasn't subject to that overlay, I would not be here. I think there's policy basis to support such a severance on other lands. But until somebody can tell me that 5.2.28 does not apply to these lands and should not restrict it to be specifically 40 hectares, I'll continue to be here with a different opinion and say, why are we doing this? In my letter, somewhat against the wishes of my clients, perhaps, I did include some remedies to the problem, which I thought would help. And that would be that before this committee could approve such a consent, a county official plan amendment should have been sought out and obtained. Basically to say that, yes, this policy says 40 hectares, but in this instance, we're going to allow for 38.6. That again would be adjudicated, reviewed, processed by the county. And if it made sense, so be it. That official plan amendment would have set the framework for reduced lot area. And again, I probably wouldn't be here. The other alternative I suggested in my letter is the use of a minor variance application. So a zoning bylaw amendment is required to conform to the official plan. Again, my concerns are all about the official plan and the implementation of that policy. You have to conform. A minor variance application says you have to meet the general intent and purpose of the official plan. It's a much more lenient or broad-based ability to review that application. So when you're reviewing a minor variance, I put in my letter that I thought there could be a justification table to suggest that, yes, with a concurrent minor variance application, potentially this application could have been reviewed and the general intent of the official plan is adhered to and maintained. But as it stands today, there is no conformity with the official plan. The official plan specifically says 40 hectares. I have not seen the county comments. I have not seen in Mr. Smith's report where 5.2.28 has been dealt with. I don't know why it's being disregarded and why it's not being applied to these lands. And with full due respect to the committee, that's why I'm here and that's why I continue to object to this application on behalf of the Scrivens. again, it's difficult to speak to this when you haven't read this. But yeah, the basis of my argument is simply conformity with the official plan. I think there's ways to deal with it. Those applications would need to be dealt with and reviewed on their own merits. But the consent before you today, in my opinion, does not conform to the official plan. It's flawed and it cannot be approved in the manner before you. And if there's any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer them. If it is possible, I'd love to get a copy of this letter in your hands somehow, just for future reference. It was submitted yesterday to the notice at West Gray. Mr. Scriven's letter was submitted the same. I saw it. I was copied on that email. And again, that is unfortunate. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And you may want to just sit there just in case. Usually we just have our committee member comments, then we go to the public. But this is a pretty extensive file here with lots of moving parts. So what I'm going to, committee members, do you have any questions for Ms. Loft, Mr. Scriven, or Mr. Patterson at this time? No. Okay. What's that? Okay. Okay, we just received and it's good you have declared it, and that's fine, so he's not going to make any comment. Member Hutchinson's just going to declare a conflict basically of interest because one of the applicant, or well, basically Mr. Scriven's is part of the coaching with his son, so, or grandson. So you want to just for total transparency. Thanks, Doug. Okay. So what I've done is just going back to the members. Is there any, because there was a lot of moving targets here. Do you have any questions? Okay. Joyce, go ahead. Okay. And that, just hang on, Ms. Lofton, just check with the members in case they have a question for any one of the three of you for clarity on any items, because there's quite a bit before us here. So I'll get to you, Mr. Scriven, Senior there. Just checking with Member Eccles here. I can come back to you though if you want. Okay. Member Eccles, go ahead.
I guess we're here as a committee of adjustment, not as rubber stamped. If everything was an absolute, and that's what I've learned about planning through the years, is that planning is not black and white. There's a lot of gray area in it. Like maybe Mr. Patterson and Ms. Loft may agree with that. It's a lot about interpretation and a lot of times, like it was with one application in this agenda earlier today about correcting planning mistakes and legal issues and trying to get that in straight and narrow. We're here to make the commitment. Here's the policies, but they're fluid. With that being spoken, in Ms. Loft, you talked about wanting to stay on the old former lines, the lot lines. And that's the reason that we're at 38.5, 38.4, whatever it is, hectares, and not 40. If the applicant, and there's a small section in that 71 hectares, was to move the lot line to the east and follow that severance that's off in the middle of the property and go straight north, that would add 10 hectares on to the 38 and take obviously 10 off the 71. Is that, and quite obvious to Mr. Scriven and Mr. Patterson's comments, it's all about the 40. Does that satisfy the 40 hectares? And would it, I'm trying to come to a conclusion here. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
At all?
If the number is changed, sorry, I know you're asking Ms. Loft, but
I'm asking somebody.
right. So the parcel size is, I can't remember the number, it's quite large. If it, yes, you could move a line and you could add 5 acres to it by moving it over 10 feet or whatever it is, all the way down the lot line or whatever it is to add 5 acres to it. And it would do the 40. There's no doubt about it. You know, the lot lines are, the original Crown lot lines are not sacrosanct when it comes to severances, as you're pointing out. Part of the reason we do follow them at times is that it can save money in terms of survey. Original township lines can possibly still be accepted by the registry office, land registry office, in terms of not requiring a survey, as opposed to a new lot line that goes down 15, 20 feet or over to do so. But in my opinion, your suggestion of moving it to come out with 40.0 hectares, yes, you can do that.
That's not my decision to make. That would be the applicant.
In some respects, the recommendations on the Committee of Adjustment can modify the consent in any which way form they see fit, including adding or subtracting lands to the as you see fit. That addition or subtraction on a consent would then be up to the applicant to decide whether or not to accept or not accept the application as modified by the Committee of Adjustment.
Probably say a few people in the front rows that may, if that suggestion was there, that we can come to a conclusion, because there's a couple of members that are very adamant about it being 40 and a couple of members of the public very adamant about it being 40. Is that a possibility? Do you want your planner to make a comment on that, or any members of the applicant?
I'll start and say, yes, that would be, yeah.
Just for the record, I do, Member Eccles had the floor, and I do acknowledge Ms. Loft, and I'll come to you, Planner Smith. I just want to. Apologize for interrupting everyone. Ms. Loft, go ahead. I did see your hand come up when
yes,
Member Eccles asked the question.
Thank you. So unfortunately, I'm not in the room to see if the applicants are willing to accept the shifting of the lot line. Planner Smith is correct. It would be a very minor shift of the line because of the depth of the lot to get to the 40 hectares. I don't believe we would be shifting it any more than just meeting the 40 hectares. And I would point out that the aggregate resource area is less than 5 acres on this property. So just to Mr. Patterson's concerns about the aggregate resource, my recollection from the October meeting is that his concerns were wholly related to the middle lot, to the B22 lot. And so in reference to his high level of concern today with regard to B21, there's only a sliver of that aggregate resource area that actually is on this severed parcel. And I think, the county does look at that and the extent of the resource area. So I guess those are my comments on just with regard to that aggregate resource area, since that policy is still being raised. And just perhaps Planner Smith, if you could perhaps take a minute and just speak to the applicants, since I'm not there in person, and just to have or understand if they would accept the shifting of the line from 38.6 to 40.
Well, I'd like to make a comment if I may.
Actually, if Mr. Scrivens, I'm just going to go to Planner Smith first, who is next in line. Then I'll go to you. And I do have somebody in attendance here. Mr. Scrivens would like to speak as well. So Planner Smith and then to Mr. Scrivens, okay?
All right. As the Deputy Secretary Treasurer of the Committee of Adjustment, maybe I could recommend it to maybe we allow a 5-minute break for the applicants in this particular case to have a conversations amongst themselves and to see the proposal, or sorry, a suggestion brought forward by one of the committee members in terms of the amendment to the application before you give them time to deliberate on that.
Thank you, and I will take that, but before we break, if that's your comment, sir, I've acknowledged that. I'm gonna go to Mr. Scrivens. And then I do want to have a gentleman in attendance who's been waiting to speak. So Rob Scrivens on the line, go ahead. I know we got two Mr. Scrivens here, so go ahead. And then I will do that, and then we'll take that break. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. So Mayor Eccles, your suggestion makes sense, but this is the application before the Committee of Adjustment. And speaking as a lawyer, just moving lot lines, as I can't remember who made the comment earlier, but you know, it's subject to approval by the land registry system or the land title system. And just to move a lot line like that hasn't even been presented. I don't know what it looks like. Are we going to draw on the back of a napkin here today to do it? I would say would cast a lot more planning problems. That's just my comments. I like the creativity. I like the thought of trying to find a solution here, but it's the applicants who picked their poison and put this application to the Committee of Adjustments.
That comment then, Mr. Scrivens? Okay, thank you. Mr. Scrivens, if I could just get you to sign in as well there. Mr. Scrivens Senior, I guess. And then after Mr. Scrivens Senior has finished, we will take a 5-minute break. Be very brief, because we do need to get onto this a decision on this file. Just press that middle button there and state your name for the record, sir, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much.
You got to sign or just the button there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. My name is William Scriven. My son is Robert Scriven. First of all, I would like to suggest that Mr. Patterson's letter and our letter I'm under the understanding you have not seen these letters. Is that correct?
That is an accurate statement.
Pardon me?
That is accurate, yes.
I would ask that these letters be retrieved from somewhere and be a matter of record for this hearing. They were sent. Does anybody know where they are? Mr. Smith, did you receive any letters?
Mr. Scrivens, if I could have you just direct through me.
Pardon me?
If I could have you direct your.
Okay, fine.
If
That's
you don't
great.
mind, sir,
Yep.
and then I think we just.
Yeah, and I think the second comment,
thank you.
I have two more comments to make, is the hearing is getting somewhat blurred. The application we're here to discuss today is the one that's written down in the paper. And that is the one that the Committee of Adjustment has to decide on. Unfortunately, without our letters. I would also add that two parties have tried in the past to obtain severance of what I would call the easterly 100 acres, and were denied. I personally wanted to sever 5 acres off a 75-acre piece I own, which abuts this property. I was told at that time that this property had a severance already off it in 1930. And I would not be allowed to sever 5 acres. So one would begin to wonder, why are we being denied 5 acres off of 75, 100 off of that lot, when this property already has 2 severances and now is going to have 4 severances? And I stand to be corrected, but I think, does the County of Grey maximum severances 3? Mr. Smith could answer that.
Just one moment, Mr. Scriven, I'll get you an answer. Planner Smith, is it 3 for the county? Just if you could confirm that, sir? 3 severances?
For an agricultural parcel, I believe he's correct, yes, but I will have to double check that. Okay. But the minimum farm size, so we're not creating a new lot here. We're creating a lot. So his comment is incorrect in relationship to that comment about number of lots.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Planner Smith. I just wanted to get the answer 3. Go ahead. I think that was.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. In closing, I would just say it would be nice if these letters, a lot of work was put into these letters by Mr. Patterson and by my son. I can't claim any effort in these letters. Robert wrote them, but it would be nice if they could be found or reclaimed or resent and be a part of the documented in this hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we're not going to be, the application before us is what we've heard several times, is I do support that. That, we're dealing with what the actual application is, but I am going to ask that we take 5 minutes to just everybody kind of catch your breath, maybe have a refreshment. We'll just go grab some air or whatever, but we'll see you back at, what are we going to call that? How about 4 o'clock on the bell there? Thank you. Just had to try to find a pathway forward for everyone here. So I'll just wait for the live to get back on stream and wait for Ms. Loft, and then Ms. Noble, if you can let us know. Okay. So from the chair, I have, there's a couple things we can do. Basically, we can proceed forward, and I feel that some of the members of this committee are seeking some documentation, some letters and further information that has not been circulated. So we can make a decision based solely on what's before us now. Without that is one angle, whether it's accept or deny the application. The other thing that we can do is, we've heard 40, I believe 40 hectares seems to be the key ingredient here. So one of the suggestions was to go back, draw that line, but it would have to be on the application so that we could see it, presented in actual on the agenda. Where the line is, doesn't matter. That's not up for me to decide or anybody else other than yourselves and Ms. Loft. With that, we defer this is the other option to the first meeting next month, which is in March, I think 1st, I believe. March 4th. At that stage, what we do is we wouldn't really have all the documentation. All the comments will be circulated, including the county comments, Planner Patterson, Mr. Scrivens, et cetera. The members of this committee would have everything. It would still be a public format. We wouldn't be open to public or for actual public, I would just say, presentations at that time, and we'd make a decision based on, because I think the holdup is everything's before us. We just don't have all the pieces that we need to see. So that would be a deferral to the 4th. And then we would hear that. And again, everything should be before us that we've been asking for. If an amendment was made to make it 40 hectares, seems to be one of the issues here. That's kind of where that's how we're positioned to make a pathway forward for everyone. Or we can make a decision today, and I, myself as chair, I'm not comfortable making a decision because there's some things that I'd like to see. And if it comes down to a vote, I'm going to be the tiebreaker one way or the other. And I would like to see some of this, and I'd like to support the rest of my members here. So I'm going to put it to the committee members, how they'd like to handle this. That's kind of what we've talked about on break. So any members, any comments? Well,
I think it would be good to possibly defer so that we can get all the information. And then it will allow everyone to adjust lines if that's what needs to happen. Or if we defer, are we still just talking about this application? Are we, I guess that's a procedural question. Would they be allowed to move lines and everything, or is that a totally different application then again? We're in a very interesting area.
So planners, I will come to Planner Smith. What we really discussed was it's the same item here. Obviously, it'll be the date change, but it'll be same application. And the only language is going to be different in there is the 38.7 is going to be 40. And I think that's going to answer the question from the opposition on the file. And the other thing is we're going to have the supporting documents submitted by Mr. Scrivens and Mr. Patterson. And we will also have the Great County's position on that, which we don't see other than the comments. And I think that's essentially what we're all after. And then listening to you. So Planner Smith, I'll go to you, sir.
I think you said everything, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I guess so. So anything else there? Okay. Okay, Member Eccles?
March 4th. Is that a stat holiday? It's Army Day, March 4th.
We're going to be here.
Some people got that one. Sorry, I just couldn't let it go. It's right there. I would be in favor of making a deferral until further information comes forward and some adjustments or amendments are made. And I think that's the question, Planner Smith. We defer this and it comes back with adjustments will be what we're looking at on March the 4th. If the applicant wants to, make some of those adjustments.
I think the last part is what you mentioned, right? So you are requesting, and the chair is requesting another piece of information. That's easy to do. If the application is amended, you will see that on the March 4th, or whether or not it comes forward as it stands now, one or the other. My discussions with the gentleman out in the hallways, they have some internal arrangements in terms of things that they may see another way forward, or the 40 hectares may be the way forward. So, but I think everybody would appreciate the time. Certainly I appreciate the time and your patience with this and coming forward back. So
The other part to that, Planner Smith, is to be crystal clear, it cannot be dramatically changed to what's before us is what we're requesting here. So it's just the 40 and then the supporting document from the Mr. Scriven, Mr. Patterson, and from Grey County is what we didn't see, is really essentially what we're talking about, to make a clear, conscientious decision as a committee. I think that should cover it. Does that cover anybody's questions there? And again, it's going to identify it will identify, where did we go? The big piece of the puzzle here, which I've made several notes on. I just got to find it, is the OP, the actual policy. And I just need clarity on that. So what I'm going to do, one moment, sir, because I've got the committee members. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to check with, I'm going to go to Ms. Loft first, just to see how you feel about this. And then I'd like to go to Mr. Scrivens. And of course, to Mr. Patterson, Mr. Scrivens Senior. So Ms. Loft, go ahead. I see that I will get there in a second. Go here first. Ms. Loft?
Thank you through the chair. We would support the deferral. I do know that the applicants would need to have an internal discussion on if they will propose the minor change to the 40 or not. So we respect committee's decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Loft. Yeah, and if it comes back at 38, then we have the documents that we're looking for that we don't have before us, and it can stay as it is, and we can make a decision based on it. We will be making a decision at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Mr. Scrivens, virtually, do you have any comments, sir?
Yes, thank you. As I said on October the 1st, I'm always a proponent of more information and consideration of this, but let's just work this through. And I want to leave the Committee of Adjustment with this thought. Okay, they moved the lot line. A, it has to be approved by land titles, and B, it doesn't address the fairness and the equitable concepts that Bill and I have outlined, to say we've tried this several times and we've been denied, and that might open up a different kettle of fish. So I'll leave that, but I'm completely in your hands in terms of the deferral, because it's not for me to say, Mr. Chair, how to run your meeting. So I'm completely in your hands.
Yeah, and I'll just respond to that. Again, Mr. Scrivens, we have not seen the letter from your planner, Mr. Patterson, and I have not seen your letter. So I can't make any decisions, and I would like to have that so that at least I have a good starting point. I do see your hand and acknowledge it. Go ahead, Ms. Loft.
Thank you. I know that Mr. Scriven has pointed out twice now about the Land Registry Office, and this decision is before you, the Committee of Adjustment, and has nothing to do with the LRO at this time. Once we have a reference plan done in the future, obviously the surveyor will submit the plan to the LRO. But the decision is yours, and with all due respect, the LRO at this point has no say, and it is our understanding that we do need a full reference plan. We were not relying on an exemption to not have a reference plan and utilize a legal description with the original lot and concession. So just a reminder that this decision is before the committee and not the LRO.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Locke. Go ahead, Mr. Scrivens, virtually.
Yes. I have seen it time and time again when reference plans are submitted to the LRO and they're not accepted. So Ms. Loft is correct. The first decision is yours, but I'll just leave it at that. It's certainly a consideration.
Thank you for your comments. Ms. Patterson, you have any closing comments for Mr. Scrivens Senior? And then I do acknowledge you, sir, you want to say something. I'm just going to finish this and then we get on with the decision, what we're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, I would review any application that came forward on its own merits. I am simply providing you a contrary planning opinion. I'm not advocating one way or the other. When you read my letter, hopefully it makes its way to you. I am just providing a planning opinion. I just want to make that very clear that I'm not an advocate one way or the other. But my opinion does differ from Mr. Smith and Ms. Loft, and that's quite common in our profession. I think Mayor Eccles noted that planning is a fluid environment, and my opinion in this instance is different. And that's what the tribunal's for. That's what committee's for. You take those into account and you make the best decision possible. So I think a deferral is valid in this instance, and look forward to see what comes of that.
Thank you for your support on that. And I think that's how we feel here is we would like to see your comments. We've heard them here from, from the planning department and from Ms. Loft. So I would like to see yours. Mr. Scrivens Senior, you have anything? No closing comments? Now, would you like to have a comment, sir? Go over here. You got to put your name on the record, please. And then when you're ready to go, I'll get you to press the button and state your name. And you just press that middle button, state your name for the record, and the floor is yours. Go ahead, please.
So my name is Jason Martin, brother to one of the applicants. That's really the only connection that I have. I guess the reason I'm here is because supposedly I talk a little too easily sometimes, so I got the job. I thank you for the opportunity. I think it's been somewhat covered. The one thing I was going to point out that it's been debated about moving the lot line. Well, there actually is no lot line right now. That's just where it was. So where we make the new line, I don't think there's much difference. There was one there, yes. The reason it's not 100 acres anymore is because that little house in the bush got severed off. So if the line's where it used to be 80 years ago, or if we make a new one 5 feet further east, I don't think there's really a difference. That's where the new lot line will be. That's just my opinion. So I would think, basically on our behalf of the applicants, we're willing to consider that option. All they want to do is create viable farms, and whether the line fence is 4 acres back or forth, what's the difference? Basically our take on it.
Thank you. Well, the difference is for us as committee members is we got to get it right because we're bound by the policies that govern us, and we have to make sure that we stick to those, and we have to make sure we're very clear on what our decisions are. That's one of the big differences. Yes, it's just a line. Yes, it's only 4 acres. Those are all big yeses, and we've got to make sure that we're doing what we were, obviously elected to do, if you will. So we're appointed to this committee. We're not here as council. We're here as committee members, and I'm bound by the proper decisions, and I'd like to see everything in front of me to make the proper decision. Do you have any other comments, sir?
No, and I'm not saying that we are trying to force that today. We're just saying we are open to that option if that's what we need to do.
Well, we could certainly make a decision today, but I don't know which way the outcome is, and I'm not prepared to make a decision myself personally, and I don't think anybody else is comfortable until we have everything that we requested as a committee is brought forward to us. We have time to review it. Then we will come back and we'll make a decision. Is that good?
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Scrivens Senior, go ahead, sir. And I'm going to go to call the vote for getting somebody to move the deferral on this so we can close this issue. Mr. Scrivens, go ahead, sir.
I would say I'm a little bit bewildered. is not the function of the committee to address the application that's before them? Is everybody that's going to make an application to this committee going to be subject to a whole bunch of suggestions that could be possible or could not be possible? I don't know, and I don't think anybody here knows. But I do stress the fact, unless I'm wrong, and I'm open, Mr. Chairman, to be criticized for that, the function of the committee is to address the application that's before them. That is the function of the committee. It is not to act as a mediator, an advocator, or adjudicator of the application. The application gets presented, the committee makes a decision. I believe in the rule of law. I believe in a democracy. I believe my neighbors have a right to reapply if they care to with another scenario. But the meeting today on February the 4th was called to adjudicate and discuss the application that's before the committee. And now, for the first time we deferred it. Now we're going through this same process again. And I would just ask the members of the committee, what's the format now? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Scrivens. And I appreciate your comments. And yes, we're very disappointed. We could arrive to a decision. Again, we're not here to negotiate or do anything else. The biggest challenge we have to make a decision based on what's before us today. And we didn't have all the information. We had a good portion of this side of it. We're trying to have your information come forward so we had a clear picture. That's why I've asked for, basically the committee to endorse just a deferral. And when we do get back in March 4th, we will have a decision because we're going to have everything we need. We know what we're after now. Are we all fair with that? Now, what I am looking for is a mover to move a motion to defer this to the next meeting. Member Towns, are you going to move that, sir? Can I get a seconder, please? And if not, we do not. Okay, Member Eccles. This is defer the item. All the documents to support it for the March 4th meeting. Any comments or questions? Okay, I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor of deferral, please raise your hand. I see 4 in favor. Those opposed, 1 opposed. So that motion is carried 4-1. That item is moved. And thank you very much. I apologize for everything that's happened and the hesitation, but the long deliberation on and not having a decision, but that's where we've arrived. There is no next steps. And the next meeting, as I said, is March the 4th. And I will say that everything today on today's agenda has been completed, and we will stand adjourned at 4:25. Thank you.